All right, preparing the payroll register. So we're going to do a sample problem here and prepare the payroll register. And then in the next video, we'll do the associated journal entries related to that payroll register. So here's our example problem we have on December 5th. We're going to prepare a payroll register for this biweekly payroll. And if a box is not used in the table, leave the box empty. I'll show you that. And then we have a list here of 4 employees, their marital status, their allowance, and then what department they're in. And so we're going to start filling out this payroll register with that information. We have the following assumptions. We're going to assume the FICA OASDI, the old age survivor and disability insurance, is 6.2% on up to 127,200. That's what we're going to use. It's different every, could be different every year, so take note of that, but that's what we're going to use for this problem purpose. And then Medicare is 1.45% on all earnings, so that doesn't have a limit. It doesn't have an up to amount. And then I'll remind you as we go through this. And then federal income tax, we're going to calculate, we're just going to practice using the tables that are from the irs.gov. They're tables from publication 15T. And so I'll show you that table. That's what we're going to use. But when you're doing problems for homework, use the table that's provided to you, because they might be using an older table or different numbers even just to make it simple. So use what's provided in your problem or what they tell you to use. But in this problem, we're going to use the irs.gov one. So that way you know where it's at. State income tax, we're going to assume 9% of gross pay. Union dues, we're going to say $13 biweekly. And then we have SUTA and FUTA. So the SUTA rate is 5.4% and the FUTA rate is 0.6%. And both of those are on earnings up to 7,000. So that wage base will apply to the SUTA and FUTA for 7,000. And we can see in number one above for OASDI, that was only for OASDI up to 127,200. So let's go ahead and do our problem. So we're going to open up an Excel sheet here. I have already built for you. We have an information tab again if you need to refer back, but I pasted it up here as well for scrolling purposes. So we can see the first part of the payroll register. We have the employees' names plugged in. We have their allowance. We have their prior, that's going to be provided to you in whatever problem you're doing. We have their prior earnings year to date, so what they earned up to this point, and then now we have their salary for this biweekly payroll. All right, and then so they're not hourly rate or have overtime special pay, so we're just going to leave that all blank. Information wasn't provided on that, so we're going to assume that's not relevant in this case, so we'll leave all those blank. Okay, and then we have their gross pay, because that was their salary, so there was no extra overtime thing or anything like that. And then we're going to get their current earnings now. Well, the current earnings is going to be the prior year earnings plus the gross pay, and that gives us our new current earnings. All right, so we'll do that for everybody. And I did star, you can see here that I did star Archer M, because they are actually at now 128,325 for the earnings. I want to take note of that because when we look at our assumption one above, we can see here that OASDI is up to 127,200. So we're over. So let's backpedal a little bit and let's look at the prior earnings. Oh, okay. We didn't go over quite yet in the prior earnings. We were at 126,300 and we have up to the 127,200. So we're going to take note of that because not all of this salary, only up to 127,200 will be taxed for the OASDI at the OASDI rate. So we want to take note that that will be different. And you can see here below, as we start completing this table, we're going to complete what the OASDI amount is. So we'll start filling that out shortly. Okay, so let's go ahead and start filling out our FUTA and SUTA amounts first. So for our FUTA and SUTA column, we're going to put in only the earnings for this biweekly period that are going to be taxed at the FUTA and SUTA rate. So as a reminder, we can look here at number 5 assumption. It says that SUTA and FUTA are on earnings up to 7,000. Well, we can clearly see that all three of them, Archer S, Archer M, and Kane L, are all past that 7,000. But C Tunt is not, right? They're only at 5,100. They still haven't even gotten it with their current biweekly pay of 810 because they're only at 5,910. So maybe next period or the period after we'll have to worry about checking that. But right now that full 810 is going to be taxed for the FUTA and SUTA. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. The other ones, they don't go here because they're past the 7,000. So they won't have a FUTA and SUTA tax, but we will need to calculate it for TUNT. So that's good. Now we're going to complete the OASDI. Well, I had starred as a reminder that we'll have to pay attention to Archer M, but everybody else, they're all under that 127,200. All right, that's in assumption one. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in everybody's, and we'll look at Archer M in a second. So we can put in this amount. We'll skip them for now because we'll talk about them in a second, and then we have 810. So everybody else, the full amount. But now I need to figure out, okay, well, not all of it, right? They're at 126,300 right now, and we only are going to tax up to 127,200. As a reminder, let's scroll up again so you can see. There you go. All right, so minus what we've already had taxed up to, which was the prior earnings. And so now we see that there's 900 left. So we can tax 900 more dollars, and that's it. So the full 2025 salary is not going to be at OASDI rate, only the 900. So we're going to plug in that 900, and that way that reminds us that that's what we're going to tax. That's going to have the OASDI tax. Okay. The rest of the stuff will be taxed at the gross pay. So we've figured that out for us. Now we have our federal income tax. So we're going to use the table. So that is assumption 2. And this is where it gets tricky. You might want to open this table and follow along. I'll attach it for you, the actual table, in case the link changes to 2024 and you're looking at it then. So I'll attach 2023s that I'm referring to. It's going to be super tiny. I'm going to drag over that table for you to see if I can get it. All right, here we go. And so this is the table. Super tiny. Let me see if I can increase this a little bit for us. There we go. So we can see here, this is the single person's bi-weekly. This is page 37 that I'm looking at. And we can see this tells me the number of allowances for that single person, 0, 1, 2, and 3. I think for our problem, we had some with 3 and 1 and 2. So these are the 3 columns that we would be looking at. And we can see here if the wage amount, it says at least, so at least 0, but less than 205, then that would be the withholding amount. We can see we're zeros for quite a while. So let's move down to one that we can look at instead that has a little more. Let's go down a little bit so we can have a little bit of better example. Okay, so like at least 535, all right, but not more than 545. So if they're 545, let's say they're magically that number 545, it won't be this one. We're going to drop down to this one because it is not, it is over the amount that it's saying, because you can get less than. So it's not less than 545. All right, sorry about that. That was Sam from Expedia interrupting my video. Sale call. Now I've muted my phone, so I won't have that problem later. Okay, so let's go and look at who we have that we're going to do first. So we have Archer S. They're at 1,520. And we see that they are single. So that's the S there. And then their allowance is 3. So we're going to go ahead and look up the table for the column 3 for single. And so we're going to go back over to here. It's 1,520. So we're going to scroll all the way down to 1,523 will be this column here. See, we go into the next page. All right, 1,520 will be between these amounts here. All right, so we can go, that's the 0, that's the 1, that's the 2, that's the 3. So their withholding is going to be, federal income tax withholding is going to be 90 bucks. So we're going to look at the table every time for all of them and follow this. So we're going to go ahead and fill those out. I'll do one more with you as well. So let me just move that screen over. Oh, the screen went crazy. All right, 90 bucks. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that for Archer M. Make sure you're looking at this amount, not this amount. That was just for OASDI. So we're going to do it for 2025, 240, and then 810. So let's just do 2025 again. All right, I think this is a trick one too. So 2025. Oh, so we can see here it is not less than 2225 here in this one. So we drop down to this one. All right, so this is the one we're looking at. All right, and she was, Archer M was S1. So this was the 0 column, and then this is the 1 column right here. So 193 will be the amount. Okay, so you're going to keep doing that for the other two. I'll let you try the other two on your own, and then we'll finish up the other tax calculations. Okay, so you should have 174 and 43 for the other two. Now we're going to do state income tax. So when we look here, state income tax is 9% of gross pay. So we really should be looking at this column. I was looking at this column earlier. It's the same, but really it's off gross pay, so let's use the right column. So let's do our formula in here. Let's do a formula and just do 9% of this amount. So it'll be this amount here times 0.09 for 9%. And so that's our state income tax. So we'll do that for all of them as well. All right, so as you can follow, I'll just do this real fast. And we're done with the state income tax. So next we have is the OASDI. So when we're looking again, we have 6.2% on earnings up to the 127,200. So we know that we have already said to ourselves, okay, 900 only for Archer M will be at that 6.2%. So again, that's from up here. All right, so let's go ahead and start calculating that. So it'll be this amount times 0.062. All right, so we can just keep going. Okay, so that's it for OASDI. So just as a reminder again, the only one that was different was this because it was 900 instead of the total gross amount. All right, Medicare now is going to be of all the gross amount. There is no limit like there was for the OASDI, and it's going to be 1.45%. So we're going to take the gross amount again. So we'll just do this real quick, times 0.0145. All right, keep going. So it's very tedious. This is very tedious. And you can see with a lot of employees, but we can have formulas in the real world, they'll have formulas or even software. We're fancy now, so we'll even have software, but we're understanding what's going on at least behind the scenes. Okay, so there's our Medicare. Now our union dues, I think we're 13 bucks. Yep, we can see 13 bucks bi-weekly. So I'll just throw in 13 bucks here. All right, so that's all the taxes and dues or whatever that are taken out of the paycheck. And now we need to figure out the net pay. So we're going to say our gross pay. So remember our gross pay. Don't use the OASDI because Archer M is a different amount. So don't use that column. Yeah, you know, maybe in some problems, some of the employee, they didn't reach that amount yet. or that limit yet. So this might be the same as the gross pay, but we get in a good habit of knowing that it's really the gross pay, then I'm subtracting all the taxes out. So minus all the sum of all those other taxes started being taken out, and withholdings because we had the dues. All right, so that's our net pay. And so we're going to do that for all the other columns. So the last part of our register, we're almost done. We just need to say who belongs in what expense account, what department. And so if we go back to our information, we can see here the Archer S is in service, Archer M is in office, service, and then office. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and put the gross pay in those sections. So this was service, and then this one was office. We can actually funnel the totals if we wanted to carry them over. If you're building this for future use, having formulas in will make things go a little faster. All right, so we should tie out. So if we say our gross pays for both of these departments, we'll add them up. It should equal all our taxes and our net pay. So we can go ahead and do a sum there as well. So I'm just adding these all up because that should equal my gross pay. And if I did it all right, and we can see that it does equal, you can double check, but we can quick eye, we can see that it does equal. Yeah, they equal out. So we know we're good. You can always do a little checker like that. It's nice to do just to make sure that you didn't miss anything or miscalculated something. So we can see there that we are good. We all tie. So the last little bit we have is to calculate the employer taxes. So that's the FICA OSDI for the employer side, the Medicare, and then the FUTA and SUTA as well. So that's what the employer side of the taxes are. So let's take just a quick minute. We'll do that. And then the next video will be journal entries. So really, the OSDI on the employer side is the same amount on the employee side. So it really is just this amount as well. But we can calculate it. Why not? But it would be the same amount, and you'll see. So we can say OSDI, well, that was, again, we had Archer M limited, right? Because they already were getting close up to the max. So it would be this total amount here. That's why we had that column, and that's 0.062%. And that is equal to the amount that we totaled up here. Perfect. So that's the employer side. So the employer is paying that side as well. And same with Medicare, but that's going to be off of the gross amount. So this was our gross amount here, and that would be times 0.0145. Perfect. And we can see that it is the same amount. So you could have just transferred down the same amount, but we might as well calculate it. So we're practicing. Now we have FUTA and SUTA. So that's what the employer pays, and that is up to the earnings of 7,000. So only earnings up to 7,000, and we see again that Tunt was only one that was not over 7,000, and we had done that. We had made a column for that amount saying only 810 is going to be for FUTA and SUTA tax. So FUTA is 0.6%. So let's do a bunch of those zeros there. So that's going to be this amount times 0.006. Oops. There you go. And then our SUTA. And so we're done. That is everything for the payroll register. The next video we'll do journal entries, and we're going to use this register down here for all our journal entries, and in addition the employer's amount here, because we're going to do journal entries for the employer side. So see you in the next video.